den leader do ice cream in a bag. And get the necessary ingredients to do that. And, my boys, just watch them. You know, they were out. We did this outside. They're out there shaking away like crazy, having a great time, and then open up the bag and have the ice cream. So, a lot of things that can be done to to liven up your meetings. A couple of the books that we've got here. Now, ceremonies. Ceremonies for Denton Paxson is a very good book. I've used this book as long as I've been coming. It gives some very good ideas on different types of ceremonies. Basically, how to make the ceremony, special. Is this updated for Lions yet?
Yeah. Is Lions? No.
No.
The new program, yeah.
Okay. Okay. The reason I'm saying on here is a lot of the ceremonies, they tend to break down by rank. So I don't know. But I tend to look through and kind of build my own ceremonies out of the guidelines in here. One of my favorite ones here is basically the points of the compass. I've used that for crossovers and value of the badge tends to be quite good for doing for any type of rank. It gives a like for the wolves here. As each of you have worked towards your wolf badge, you've had the opportunity to develop new skills, help at home, in your community, and learn respect for our flag. You have completed achievements for the wolf badge. As your family pins this award on your shirt, think about how you will wear it with pride. Gives the boys kind of a sense of real accomplishment for their wolf badge. And that is one thing that I find very, very useful for them. And I've seen some boys that just take their badge and in the pocket, and that's it. If you make it feel like this means something for them.
By the way, I brought 3 copies.
And just a reminder, anything here you can purchase, put on your scout account.
So let me ask you this. I know that some people come to Roundtable for a while, but is there anybody here who this is your first year of being like the Cup Master, the person running the meeting? Outstanding. All right. And so Cup Master, and I know one of you ladies is the Cup Master, I think? You're the committee chair. But you seem to be very much involved, right? So I was a Cup Master for 4 years. Dave's been a Cup Master since, I don't know. I'm not going to say since before I had hair, but I've had hair. I had hair at some point. I was starting to do it. But what I always found is there were 2 rules that I had to follow, and they sound like they contradict each other. The first rule is have a plan. Sit down and plan out what the meeting's going to look like, so that you're not going in there blind. Now, when you've been doing it for a couple of years, maybe you can just do an off-the-cuff meeting, but I always wanted to make sure I went with a plan. The second rule is be flexible, because plans can change. I more than once got to the meeting and either due to a weather event causing the planned outside activity to go blargle, or we had a special guest who, because of a real life situation, couldn't show up. All of a sudden, the main attraction for the meeting was not there any longer. So you sometimes have to be real flexible on this stuff. One way to deal with that is to have an emergency backup meeting plan in your back pocket that you can execute regardless of the circumstances. An example of that is one, and I had to use this one at one point, is that we took all the dens, and the dens were challenged to come up with original skits. They had about 20 minutes to do that, and then they all performed these skits for the rest of the pack. And it was a little crazy, but it was fun. We kind of tied that into the whole. I forget what even the belt buckle was for that, or the belt loop was for that. But it was legitimate content for some of them for rank. But that was like my emergency backup plan that I had in my back pocket for a couple of months. I finally actually had to break the glass to use it. So, terrible with first names.
No.
Tony, do you use a particular format for your meetings?
I do. I have everything planned out, time-wise. Things never go according to the timeline. But we follow a structure, and normally I hand out my structure to the leaders. So we're all, I email it to them. Nobody prints it out, so I print it out, hand it to them the day of the meeting. And, whatever songs we're going to sing are on, at the bottom, so everybody knows what songs, what games we're going to play, how they're played. They're all on the paper, so it's all laid out. You can get an idea. Otherwise, there's no structures.
Yeah, because here's the reality of the jobs in scouting. Like the committee chair's job is to make sure the pack stays in business. Like the stuff in the background is being done. The bills are being paid, the charter's being filled out, everybody's got the necessary training. The den leader's there to make sure the dens are in order and that they're going through all their advancements and stuff. The Cub Master's most important job, I would say the Cub Master has two critical jobs. The Cub Master's probably the most recognizable public face in the pack. So you represent the pack to the public, like when your unit's at camp, when your unit is traveling, whenever your unit's anywhere. You're the face of your pack. But your other, I think it's a more important job, is you're essentially the master of ceremonies once a month for that pack meeting. You own that. And not only do you own executing it, but ultimately the content for that falls on your shoulders. That doesn't mean you're alone. That doesn't mean you can't ask for help. But when we talk about the buck stopping here, for that monthly pack meeting, that is the most important job of the Cub Master that happens consistently. So it's part showman, it's part producer, part writer sometimes. But there's a bunch of skills there that come and work together.
The other thing that I feel is kind of important for the Cub Master, as Mark said, yeah, you're the person in front, is to get to know the boys. And I'm going to bounce this a little off on Mark here. I tend to work with smaller units where it's very easy to get to know the boys. And in some cases, I've been not only Cub Master, but also den leader at the same time. Mark, you've worked with a large unit.
Yes.
How did you get to know the boys?
Wow. So here's the thing about that. Some boys I knew because my son had been with them from the beginning. I knew their names. I knew what they liked. I knew what they didn't like. What they didn't like, boy, that was grammatical. And some boys, it took me longer to get a sense of, even how to pronounce their name properly. So sometimes I would just have to own that. I didn't always, know each of them by name. I didn't always know how to properly pronounce a particularly challenging last name, and you just roll with it. And I kind of would make fun of myself for it. But that being said, every single time the boys got awards, their names were on the bag, they were on the card or whatever, and I would personally make sure that their name was read aloud by me, and that I would make a big deal about the awards they got. And they eventually, Cupmaster's an interesting thing, because it's one of those types of jobs where you're walking around in public and people know who you are, and they have no clue, and you have no clue who they are. Maybe it's grandma who came to the PAC meeting and remembers you, or maybe it's, you're just not remembering all the boys in the unit. Yeah, because PAC 76, when I was in charge, had anywhere from 40 to 60 active boys. That's just a lot of kids to remember, especially when you don't see them every day. And some of them don't come to all the outings. You're always going to have your core group that comes to everything. You get to know them. But the other guys who are there maybe once a month, or not even once a month, yeah, that can be challenging. I'm not going to lie. So the meeting format. What do you guys do for a meeting format? Do you have a standard format?
We do. We pre-plan it, but we are a little bit more flexible. So we might plan to have singing, but we will let the boys choose what we want to do. Or we might plan to do whatever it is, but they get something. But it's what it is. So if we're doing knots, they pick knots. If we're doing whatever, so they get quite a lot of input into it, which you can only do on the night. But we space out the timing of it so that we know roughly when we're doing it.
Interesting. Now, why would you give the boys input and choice there?
Because it's their program to let them choose.
Actually, I don't know if that's the whole thing in Boy Scouts. Once you get to Boy Scouts, it's supposed to be a boy-led program. So you're laying the seeds for that, which is pretty cool. There can be a bit of a culture shock when a boy goes from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. As a Cub Scout, they're used to everybody doing, the adults doing everything for them. We sometimes err to the side of that, and then they get to a troop and they're like, wait a minute, you cooked my meal last weekend, and now you're telling me I have to do it all myself? Yes, little Johnny, absolutely. You can change that quickly. So that probably helps with some of that shock.
I mean, they can't do it for everything, but when the things that we can give them choices, we try to give them enough choices. Some of the things they vote on, and certainly the older those in the Arab lives, they're getting more in, they're just about to go control and start doing their own things, so making some big choices.
So that's
Try and bring it to
I don't think I caught you. My name is Dave. Hey, Dave, I'm Mark. That's Dave, too.
Do we have a quorum of days?
Yes.
How many Daves are in the room now? Just two? The two will do.
My middle name?
Well, I'll allow it. So Dave, have you actually run a meeting yet? Was that?
Yes.
And when was it?
Monday.
And how did it go? Tell us about your experience.
After summer camp this year, I made a comment to someone that herding Cub Scouts is very similar to herding cats.
Absolutely.
The advantage I have is I got involved in this 2 years ago when my stepdaughter asked me to step in because her husband couldn't do something. And I got to go to father-son camp with my grandson. And last year, when Chris was, so last year I became assistant Cub master.
Okay.
Because Chris was moving on. And so when the meeting opened, one of the young boys asked me where Mr. Sumner was. And I said, he finally got enough experience in order of life to graduate the Boy Scouts. He looked at me like, actually went pretty well, because I worked as a project manager.
Okay.
And I learned a long time ago to create a plan, print it out. What I didn't do, I didn't print it out large enough that I could read it without my glasses.
Oh,
So it's a little hard to read because we had the meeting outside, it was so warm in the church.
Sure.
It was a nice to do it outside, because I figured for a lot of these kids, this was the first time they'd seen each other
Yeah.
since summer camp.
Outside's nice because all the noise goes up into the upper atmosphere.
Right. And so it actually went pretty well. And the whole thing.
How large is your unit?
But we had maybe 15 kids. We took time of a moment of silence for 9/11 and for the victims of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. And then move on. The awards. I kind of got through everything. They had about had it. They were ready to go home. And the registrations for this.
Now for the general group here. As we've got some rough breakdowns on how you do your meetings. How do you do your awards? Yeah, you start. Which rank do you normally start with? Or do you bounce it around?
We start with the little ones, one up.
Okay.
Yeah, the youngest always, just because they sit still and used to that.
We start with the youngest too, but I let the den leaders hand out the awards. I do all the work to get them prepared and all that. And I stand up there with the den leaders, make sure I shake everybody's hand as they go by and say nice job and all that. But I mean, the den leaders spend most of the time working on the awards, so I feel like they should be there with that.
That absolutely makes sense. I always kind of coveted handing the awards out. I really got a kick out of it, so I was not letting anybody else do it. I'll admit, maybe that was a little selfish, but your stance there makes perfect sense to me.
There's plenty of things that I like. I like it, kind of like the idea of the boys playing, but really that's my time. Like, I'm just excited as the boys are playing the songs and stuff like that. I can let them do it. What do I can do? You know, so there's certain things that I go to do. You know, just different. You know, everybody's different. So.
Right. For our awards, we were a large enough unit that the actual advancement chair, Julie, I used to joke she was my Vanna White. So she'd lay all the stuff out on the table, and she was my able assistant while I was doing the awards. The two of us had this whole back and forth thing that was going on. So I just kind of got a kick out of that. But if you can get some help running that stuff mechanically, it runs a lot smoother than if you're just up there like looking at the table yourself, grabbing stuff and turning it around.
And there's every activity, there's a transition period. You know, you're doing awards, then you're going to sing songs. There's some kind of stuff where the boys can go nuts. There's time, there's dead time. Be it a minute or two, but that's enough for a kindergartner to run around the room.
Right.
You know, but I always had the den leaders like, okay, I'm going to walk over here and transition something, get out a prop or something like that. You know, work with the boys. We'll tell jokes, you know, just corny jokes, just to get them, keep them not crazy.
Yeah. I used to liken it to like a steam engine or a cat. When you have a boy, I mean, I have the attention span of a gnat sometimes, I'll be honest. But when they're sitting still for too long and not doing something, that pressure tends to build up. So what I would always try and do is intersperse things. Like if there were a huge amount of awards to give out, we'd take a little break and do something in the middle of that so they weren't just sitting there the entire time. I would run a meeting, this was my usual agenda for a meeting. And again, this worked for me, it might not work for everybody. It was essentially, you know, the opening ceremony. So one of the dens brings the flag in, you know, post the colors, you do the salute, the pledge, Cub Scout promise, you know, the usual opening stuff. And then you do the announcements. The announcements are mostly for the adults in the room, so the kids can get a little, you know, blurb about that. So then I would generally do a slot which was skits and songs. Now, I sometimes did a Cubmaster song. There was a den that was responsible for Skinner's song. And if there was a den that was doing the Skinner's song, they would do it probably at that point. Because that got the boys, directly involved and the new energy. Then we would do the awards. If I wanted to do my own Cubmaster song, I would sometimes do it after that, after the awards, to kind of get the boys, blow the steam again. And then we would move on to what I would call the main content of the meeting. And the main content would be whatever you were trying to do that month. It might be special guests. It might be a special activity. It might be a party, like if it's one of the more holiday-themed meetings. If the weather was nice and we coordinated with Boy Scouts, we might then go out to the campfire and the Boy Scouts would host for us. But whatever that main activity is that we take up maybe half the meeting time. And then after the main activity, you get them together and close it out. You do your Cubmaster minute or your Cubmaster close or whatever. Some sort of traditional thing to just kind of calm things down, to think about, talk about what happened that night, and then, wish everybody well, and we'll see you next month. But that I use that type of agenda for quite a few years. It always generally worked out pretty well. And I'm not the guy who, I think I probably got that general flow from the resources that were available at the time. I'm not claiming I made that up completely on my own at all.
Yeah, my structuring tended to be, very similar to what Mark would lay out. I would, as far as announcements go, I would try to keep them as minimal as possible. I've been in situations where, the unit's gone on with announcements added to an item, and you start losing the kids, and then you start losing the parents. And so try and keep your announcements, as short as you can. Games and skits, I usually have left that, at the times when I had then, left that up to the den leaders to do presentations like that. I never worked on a time frame myself. I found it, for me, it worked a lot better, a lot more flexibility on that. I know basically where we were at, but really didn't want to try and cram too much down, letting the creativity go with it. The awards have always been the big thing for me. I've always wanted to, kind of like with Mark, call that my own. Even when I had larger groups, there were den leaders. I would let the den leaders present the awards, but once again, I would announce everybody's awards to the boys and congratulate them, and kind of do the opening on that. One thing that for those of us we both scouts that we got coming up will be their crossover ceremony. That is a time that you're going to really make it big. And I put a lot of effort, when I'm doing a crossover ceremony, a lot of panache with that. Have you done anything special on the crossover?
That ceremony book that you had, there was I read stuff from that.
Right.
To set up the crossover. The one I liked was you start out with the, at the time Bobcat.
Right.
And, they walk so far in the woods, and then the next scout walks so far, and they get something, and they bring it back out. So that was to where you're at the Arrow of Light scout is gone, That was a nice story. I like that. A little long for, to be talking in front of the younger kids.
Right.
I like that one.
We
36 does them as well.
It's really nice, and some kids
People
only
cry.
in it a year, and they have small, and some, it's enormous, and they can't carry it, and it just depends on, and size doesn't matter what we say, and just, it's nice that they get to some way to display what they have. We do, I don't know the exact words for it, because I don't say it, but they put paint.
Okay, yeah.
They like candles and that, whatever that ceremony is, that's what we do.
Okay. And I know that one. The one thing also, with what you mentioned, on the candle ceremony, I use candles on, for my arrow of light. In fact, I found at a yard sale, somebody had made this big wooden arrow with, holes in it, and so it's kind of like, that's been my main prop for an arrow of light.
Is it like a scout arrow that the guy was getting rid of, or it just happened to be an arrow? Like, does it have stylized light shafts coming off of it like that?
No,
It's just a big stinking arrow?
big stick arrow. Yeah.
Interesting.
Arrow.
And yeah, the one thing I do mention here for as far as candles, just wherever you're meeting with, check with the people who own that building, make sure you're okay with using candles. Some people get, oh, we don't want candles in here or something like that. Another alternative to candles is flashlights. You'll see in the ceremonies book, they've got a whole big ceremony thing that you use flashlights with colored paper around it to represent the scouting colors. And very, very effective on that.
You absolutely want to have candles. Nowadays, you can get the flameless ones with the batteries. Not the same, it isn't the same, but it's depending on your situation, and maybe where you have to go, you know.
So I've done a little goal 2 years now.
Okay.
And we have a, well, at the old pack, we had a little thing that stepped up and had, you the bobcat or the tiger wouldn't light the candle for them and go up. And it's, in the second year, I never remember to light the candle. I'm not, I'm thinking about what I've got to do. And, it ended up being pretty comical that, like the boys are yelling, light the candle. But,
I think the one thing, for you coming up as a puppet master, with ceremonies, you will have, this is where Mark comes in with the flexibility, you will have when things go wrong. And the boys won't be shy on telling you that things have gone wrong. You just roll with it,
And here's the other thing. Other than the Pledge of Allegiance and a couple of the Scout oath, law, whatever's, there actually aren't any standard ceremonies. It's all kind of make it up as you go along. It's all based on a common set of lore, and people have written them, but there's no liturgy for, that, hey, if we didn't say these exact words and do these exact steps, you didn't officially get your arrow of light. And the Cub Scouts doesn't do things that way. So you can be as formal or as informal as you like. I tend to like the more formal stuff for the big deal, for the blue and gold, for rank advancement, for things like that. Some thoughts on pack meeting. Some challenges you might run into. And I never solved this one, and I'd be interested in people's thoughts. What the heck do you do with all the chatty parents? You got a pack that has 30 to 60 boys, which means in the back half of the room you have the adults and the siblings. and other people. How do you deal with that?
Teach 'em-
Politely.
Teach them what's called signs. If the kids have to be quiet when that sign goes up, so everybody else.
We literally have said, sorry, but you have to be quiet, otherwise boys can't hear. We've said, come out and set it straight, I'm sorry, I know you want to talk, but you hear your boys, you need to be quiet.
So when the sign goes up, everybody in the room is expected to honor it. That's probably the best habit to get into. I don't think 76 ever got into that habit.
Our boys, we have our boys, you know, they turn around and look at them.
Glowering.
You know. And, they get the naughty, they get the,
So the parents got hollered at in the car on the way home.
Yes.
yeah.
Actually,
That's the only way you can uniform it too.
I have a little different take on that, because we're small.
Sure.
A lot of the parents that are there are the denizens,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and they're in with the kids, so there's not, that helps. Chinese stuff. And going back to what you're saying about the announcements at the end of the night, I do something that takes me a little bit of time. Once you get started, it doesn't take that long. I do not every week, I do a newsletter
Okay.
of what's going on. I go on the trail, what's going on in council, what we're doing, upcoming things. I'm constantly updating our meeting day calendar. So that at the meeting, I'm only talking about one or two things.
That's excellent.
Because if they don't read their email, that's not my problem.
Well, it still is your problem. If they're not gonna read their emails, they're not gonna comment.
They read the emails.
Yeah, and I think everybody's a little different. Every pack's gonna be a little different with that. Because I did my wood badge this year, and part of the wood badge is an assessment.
Right.
So I had my ticket counselor come and do my assessment, and one of the things was communication to the adults. I had the newsletters, I have the emails, I have the text messages, I can do it all. You know what? Not one of them liked the newsletter. So you know what? I stopped doing it. You know, so when you get into it and you're doing all this stuff for, you know, a year or whatever it is, poll the parents, have someone poll the parents. What do you like? What's your favorite form of communication? And then if someone's going to say, hey, no one's going to say, like, I don't like the newsletter. You know, if they say, I don't care about the newsletter, well, then that's less work for you.
I haven't had that response yet.
Well, and everybody's different.
Because what happened, quite honestly, in the past, I don't know if you guys knew Chris Sumner.
Yeah.
But he had so much going on that things would come up the last minute. He's telling people.
That drives people nuts.
So now I'm trying to be proactive and tell people what we're doing and what we're planning. One thing I haven't told the kids is one of the things I'm doing, and I think late November right now, is I'm having them all meet us at a local Italian restaurant that I know in Phillipsburg. And the chef is going to teach them how to make pizza.
You should definitely have your roundtable commissioners come to that to make sure that, you know, meets scouting quality.
The kids are excited about it. All I'm telling them is a surprise meeting at a restaurant.
That's excellent.
I probably know where it's at because I'm living in Brook too, so.
Francesco's.
Okay.
And
That's a really neat idea.
I talked to Francesco when I brought it up. His eyes were up. And he's not an Italian American. He's not an American Italian. He is an Italian American from Columbus, which is the boot of Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
So he makes some good pizza.
Yes.
Not this chunky Pennsylvania pizza.
Right.
No, we go to a bakery, we have a bakery. It's the same thing.
The same
And
thing.
the kids love it.
Absolutely.
Food.
Pizza.
Yeah.
They still talk about the time I brought the jerky maker to the cabin can't do that. Because it's the kind you put the ground meat in the jerky gun, and you squeeze it out onto the thing, and it dries overnight, and in the morning you have jerky for breakfast. Because you make jerky, you're not gonna wait for lunch, but especially when you're 9. That's awesome. So that's cool though. Yeah, the parents were always a big challenge. And if you've got that cracked, that's wonderful. And I think that's probably more of an issue with bigger units.
You know, one thing I did, when I was, at the time when I was running Pack 51 in Peter, when we were getting larger and having a lot of siblings, particularly on the gold situation, I actually set up a small little play area off to the side for the kids to go to that kept them out of the, shall we say, the main activities of the pack meeting. And that worked pretty good. That worked pretty good. I had some of the parents, kind of appreciate that. Because, they bring these younger kids in, and as you know, with any young kid, they're halfway into the meeting, they're all squirming, and they want to be moving. They don't want to be, they want to do something now. Listen to what's going on in the ceremonies. So, but as you said there, you kind of have to get the feel for your families. You have to know the families, get to know what they're up to. And you'll have some. You can't shut them up worth anything. And it's unfortunate. I had one back 39 where I had one family, no matter what I did. So I just kept talking louder. I was hoarse by the end of that meeting, but
we're lucky because we have a pack meeting once a month, but we also have den meetings on the other nights in the same building,
right.
On the same night for the other. So really, every week is more like a pack meeting because all the dens just go to different areas
Right.
and do their thing. So we all know we are a relatively decent sized pack, only 70 young kids, but we all know each other really well, and we consider ourselves more like a family. And so Paul's are in the back making too much noise, he's heckled quiet, and he's okay with that because he knows us relatively well. Enough we try to make it so that we know them really well. And we advertise being a family, so we can kind of heckle them a bit.
That's what families are for.
Yeah.
So what are some of the cool things you've done for a pack meeting? Especially stuff maybe that you don't do at your organization, maybe you go off-site. So I'm hearing about this making pizza. What are some of the cool things that you're thinking about? Maybe people have done it and can give you some feedback. Or maybe it can be an idea that one of your fellow leaders can pick up on.
I'm taking the kids to New Jersey State a trip tour.
Okay.
Up in Northeast New Jersey. Up into Iowa.
That's a good one. We're going up to the Allentown Planetarium in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully it'll be nice clear nights. Stars.
One thing I've done with, when I was with PAC 51, one of my den leaders actually set this up. We did a camp out over on Jugtown Mountain, and had a campfire, had the award ceremony. The dens came with their flags, and it's kind of tricky setting that up in that type of situation because everybody's in their camp chairs and so forth. But the kids had a really great time. Doing skits around campfires, doing getting their awards in front of the campfire, and we had a pretty good campfire going, So if anytime you can do it outdoors, that is really neat.
We've done the hay ride with picking a pumpkin. There's a lot of places around the local area where you can do that. It's not that expensive.
I'm lucky I picked that free because my neighbor has a hay ride every year.
Well, there you go.
And he has a big orchard, and so if you come after 2 o'clock, no problem. The hay ride, pumpkin picking, gourds, I'm going to have all over my house and my backyard.
So that's a sweet setup. That's nice. And that's leveraging your relationships there.
And also the fact that he and his wife are, or at least his wife is very active in the church that sponsors
Right.
the church, the back.
So that works out good too. That's right.
We always do swim meet in January. We go up to the YMCA and one of the guys up there is a Eagle Scout and he does all the swim testing for summer camp.
In January,
In January, yeah, we always do it in January for some reason, and then we have a pizza party.
where you're swimming in January, it's kind of like shaking your fist at nature.
But it's fun, the kids love it, it's a swim party, you get tested,
In January.
they have fun, and then they have a pizza party. Do stuff for the lunch. They love it, they really do. And we also do the alcohol at the same time.
Is that the Eastern one?
Yes,
We've taken.
yeah, his name's Trevor, he's
Trevor,
really good.
okay, yeah. I belong there too, so.
We've taken, Troop, my son's Troop has taken to doing their swim test in advance of summer camp. And that actually,
It really
it
works.
makes it so much nicer that you're not running and having to do that at camp or
It
run.
makes a big difference.
I took my swim test already. Because some of them get real nervous about doing it at camp, but if you can do it in advance, that takes off a lot of the pressure. So that's a good habit to get into.
Another one I was thinking of, there's two places in the area. Antoinette's over in Phillipsburg.
Let the meat cake.
Antoinette's chocolate.
Oh,
I think she's gone.
She's gone.
She's gone.
yeah, she lost her head. She told me.
No. That she, yeah,
I mean, I don't drive Main Street.
right, she's gone.
But there's one,
Since she, retired.
there's also there's a place in the Eastern Farmers Market.
Mhm.
A gentleman from Belgium. Makes Belgian chocolate. I'm not talking to him.
Okay,
We thought about maybe going talking to him about having a thing there. Chocolate.
yeah.
Chocolate, boys. Sends them home with their parents.
Have you seen Chocolate Works? Chocolate Works is in Bethlehem, right opposite the new ShopRite, and they actually have programs for Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts where you get a patch involved with it. And they will go in and they show them how to make chocolate. They make their own chocolate, and then they give them a patch. And it's like 2 hours long.
I don't.
I took my Girl Scouts there, which
I don't know that. I don't usually. I'm very insular because I live in the country and I don't like to go far.
It's a good program, Chocolate Works.
In Bethlehem.
It's specific. They have a specific scout program, so that's why they have their own patch.
Oh, good. Yeah, feed them full of chocolate and go home with their parents.
Well, and the thing is, it's not Scout specific, but they had my daughter's venture group up one year, and that's Peep Fest, which happens in Bethlehem right around New Year's. They always have lots of arts and crafts upstairs, and they have the fire barrels outside where you can make Peep s'mores. So that kind of goes right into the whole scouting thing. Let's make some s'mores. And the fire has been made for you already. And again, lots of candy there. So that should, again, that happens it happens generally around New Year's, but the kids should be not in school at that point, or there should be a weekend day involved. So that could certainly, even if it's not your pack meeting, it could be a fun. Do they still do those seats? Or did we drop those? It could just be a pack event.
Yeah, you go see it, so I think they're now down to the line level.
I always like to go seeing it. I was in my 40s. Whatever.
Okay, Wendy. What goodies you got for us?
I do want to make one comment. One of my customers and I were talking about, the summer and how hubbies don't do the summer routine as a rule and how we're trying to get more happening. And he said something that was very, very interesting. He said, I know a lot of Cub Scouts and not one Cub Scout has ever come up to me and said, I joined Cub Scouting because I want to sit in a church's basement all winter and talk about stuff in a book. They just don't do it. They want to get out, they want to learn, they want to have fun. And these sound like wonderful ideas. I love hearing this because if you can tie it into an achievement and get them out, that's, this is so important. You don't have to be in the church. It's not necessary. Nothing's written that says you have to be there for the entire meeting. And it doesn't have to be on a church or a pack level. It can be just one den. You can go off and do something. I haven't gotten out of that yet. Okay, David, so got the ceremony. Let's see, songs. We have songbooks for the terminally challenged in music. We have the CDs, if I can. We've got all sorts of little books. They've been around for years. Some of them, when I was surprised when I scanned them today, they came up with discontinued. So, Superior Campfires. This is a good one. Because the first one is Campfire Skits, and it's only skits. Superior Campfires, it's got skits, cheers, introduction, riddles, legends, short stories. A lot of things, you can just say, the scout says, if I'm good throughout the entire camping trip, will you give me $1? And Scoutmaster says,
Absolutely not. When I was your age, I was good for nothing.
little, get a giggle, get them thinking, do a couple of those, throw one in every now and then in your longer meeting, just to keep them interested. Tell a quick story. It's something that will, it'll break that glaze on their eyes. Got sparklers. This is story class. Got a whole bunch of pages of different kinds of things that you can do for cheers and applause and things. There's one that says, it's really cute. I'm looking down right now. It's called canned laughter. And then put it back on. You take off the lid and start laughing. Yeah. Now, you get 3 or 4 people doing that, and you're going to have the entire room doing it in a matter of seconds. Okay? Just little ideas you can build on. Scout cheers. Things to shout and say. I'm trying to pick one up and do it, and that was a weird page. Lots of weird cheers in there. Scout games. Now, some of these were very, for the older boys, but you could read them and get ideas how to adapt them to your kids. Maybe for that 5-minute, 10-minute break, it's like, all right, everybody outside, we're going to do this. Now you've got an idea, a way of, something to do. A ropeless tug of war, it says. Let's do a tug of war without a rope. Instant games. That's important sometimes. Like, all right, everybody, line up, because things are just out of control, they're not focusing, the parents are talking, the kids are talking, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, you want to get their attention fast, something like that. But this would give you the ideas to be able to maybe make a note someplace so you can say, that'll work, and do that. So that's the sort of thing we have at the store. Multiple copies of everything, and to get creative uses going much more than I have to memorize it. I use them as ideas for, this sounds like a great idea when this comes up. I think I'll make a note about that and try to do it. Now, one thing I did, it had nothing to do with the Cub Scouts, but for you, with that, we've been asked to promote it. I have handouts here. The next course, they're already taking, for the August 24th through 26th of next year. So that's how far in advance we're doing it, 1 year in advance. But I have been asked to mention it, so I have mentioned it. Guys who go will tell you that is absolutely awesome. And that everybody who hasn't gone should.
I did a game last year. This is going to sound so weird. Get yourself a couple of boxes of bucatini pasta or thicker. ShopRite has it. And I don't know where else you can get them. All those Wegmans and Nazareth areas. Resource paper plates. It's a compostable paper plate that does not have a coating on it. There's a little rough on the back. And they take the kids. And one kid has a plate in this hand, the other kid has a plate in this hand, like this. The way to do it like this, get started, put the piece of pasta between them.
Oh my.
And then they have to walk across the room.
Oh, that sounds like a killer.
People were laughing because think about what it does. It promotes coordination, teamwork. It doesn't really create that much of a mess if the pasta breaks. You sweep it up. It's not that expensive. And the kids loved it. Because what I ended up doing was get a couple of Lowe's buckets and say, okay, you got to put it here, you got to drop it in the Lowe's bucket.
That's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
But get something, don't get an eagle here.
Yeah. Okay. You gotta give them a chance, or, yeah.
Angel hairs for expert difficulty.
And raw.
Yeah, it's gotta be raw. Raw! Like Chef Ramsay would say. Are they clean up over there? Good lord. All right. One of my favorite ceremonies that I introduced to PAC 76, I do want to share with you guys on this one. At the end of the year, this is not the blue and gold. This is like graduation when you move up to the next den in your PAC. We started a tradition where we would have each den present the den below them their new neckerchiefs. So the Weeblos would be given the bear neckerchiefs and basically take the bear's neckerchief off. You decide, ideally it's 1 for 1, but you might need to stack boys, and maybe if you've got fewer older scouts and more younger scouts, each older scout does more than one boy, but basically puts the neckerchief on the lower boy. And then after that den is done, the boys who just had their new neckerchiefs put on, they get the neckerchief for the next den. So each den basically rocks the den below them with their new neckerchiefs. And it's surprisingly touching. The boys really seem to like it, and I know that some of the parents got a little misty because it's a real symbol of, hey, they're getting older, and the little guys are kind of looking up to the older guys, and the older guys are helping pull them up by giving them the neckerchiefs. And at the end, you have no tigers, unless there's a little brother who you know is joining. And I did have this happen one year, so we pulled the little brother out of the audience, and his big brother was a tiger who went to wolf, and we had him put his new tiger neckerchief on in June, and that was kind of neat. So that's not the crossover. That's the crossover. It happens usually February, March. So the Weeblo 2s are gone. So the Weeblos in the room are your regular old Weeblos. They're not going to transition to a new neckerchief, but they're the ones who are going to give the bears their Weeblo neckerchiefs, and then the bears give the wolves their bear neckerchiefs. The wolves give the tigers their tiger neck, their wolf neckerchief.
But you're saying a new neckerchief, not the.
Yes, a new neckerchief.
Yeah.
You distribute the new neckerchiefs.
We sort of had that at our other PAC in Troop. The Troop actually
Yeah, they do that.
Probably,
They do that
whatever
across.
they need, their hat, whatever, yeah.
But this would be the June pack meeting, because that's generally the last pack meeting of the year in Nazareth. Because, so the Weeblos already got their Boy Scouts.
Arrow light.
The Arrow lights are gone, the Weeblo twos. They used to be Weeblo, when in my day, they were Weeblo twos, and now you guys are Arrow lights. So they've gone, so the only Weeblos you have left are the, what were the Weeblo ones. So their neckerchief stays the same, but they get to participate by giving the bears their new Weeblo neckerchiefs. And I did it like the year before I retired, so we got to do it 2 years in a row when I was the Scoutmaster. I just thought it was really cool. I think they still do it, which makes me happy. It's my second, it's what the thing I wrote. And I think I actually had some text that went with it. I think I probably stole some words or modified some words for each different one. And I forget, I'll have to look and see if I've got it on my Google Drive somewhere. But, neat little ceremonies like that. Don't be afraid to get all horny.
One thing that we've always promoted, for kind of units to do is utilize the older boys from the troop and so forth. If you have some boys in your troop who are part of the OA, have them do a rank ceremony. My son was involved with OA as part of the ceremonies team, and he actually ended up, was offered by one unit up in, I think over at Dryland, that to come up with a Weeblos crossover ceremony. So he pulled his guys from the ceremonies team. They came up with a crossover ceremony, showed up in garb, in their Indian garb, and did the crossover ceremony. And these kids were just, like thrilled. It was way above and beyond. And so, don't be afraid to utilize the boys from the troop. Once again, it gives the younger boys something to look up to. Now, one thing I like to do, my favorite thing in the whole wide world, is I like to tell a story. I know there are scout leaders who like to sing. I like to tell a story.
Thank God.
Always telling me, why did you sing? I can't. Anyway, I came across one, just looking through my Cub Scout how-to book that I'm going to read off here. And this is called The Skunk Monkey. And they say this is a good story to tell around a campfire.
That was a monkey. I don't know what the skunk monkey is. I guess I'll find out.
Joey, a brave Weeblo Scout, had heard many stories around the campfire about the mysterious creature that lived in the Cascade Mountain Range. The skunk monkey was a large, hairy creature believed to be related to Bigfoot, but most renowned for its fierce temper and foul smell. Many people had claimed to have seen it. Others told of many people who had disappeared after encounters with the creature. Yes, Joey had heard the story, but he knew they were only tall tales and legends. So it was one day Joey decided to prove to his den that the skunk monkey was just a story. Joey left the campsite shortly after the lights out, under the bright light of a full moon. He traveled by foot for a while until he reached the horse stables. Joey picked a large, strong horse to ride. Soon he was on his way, riding through snow-covered cascades. It didn't take long before Joey came upon the lake. He noticed a canoe to his left. Joey dismounted the horse and tied it securely to a small tree. He got into the canoe and paddled across the lake. When he reached the opposite shore, he walked further into Sasquatch territory. As he walked, Joey noticed that the trees were closer and larger on this side of the lake. It was hard to see where he was going, and he walked carefully with his walking stick toward the area renowned for the skunk monkey sightings. Then it happened. Joey heard a sound to his right, froze in mid-step. The sound was getting closer and closer. The trees were packed so tightly together, Joey couldn't see what was coming toward him. Perhaps it was a wild pig. Perhaps it was a wild, harmless deer. Perhaps. Then he smelled it. It was the worst smell that he had ever smelled. It was stronger than 20 smelly skunks. It was worse than the smell at the garbage landfill. It was putrid and foul and rotten. The noise got closer and closer, and before Joey could turn to run away, two great trees were torn down in front of him, and he found himself face to face with the skunk monkey. The creature gave a loud howl and banged his massive chest with powerful arms. Joey scrambled away and ran as quick as he could. He ran through the closed trees as hard as he could, but he heard the creature only steps behind him, its foul breath huffing. He wasted no time. He got to the lake, scrambled into the canoe, and paddling swiftly across from the shore with all the strength he could muster. Then he heard another loud howl, followed by a cursed splash. The creature had jumped into the lake and was swimming hard behind him. Joey paddled with all his might and reached the other side of the lake, and in no time at all, he looked behind him, only to see the fangs of the skunk monkey as it got closer and closer. He jumped down the horse, striking it hard with his feet as he urged it to run for all it was worth. The horse was powerful and galloped away in a flash. But in a while, Joey could hear the gruntings and howlings of the skunk monkey as it followed behind. Joey then saw the lights of the ranger's cabin and headed straight to it. He jumped off the horse and ran in the front door, banged the door shut behind him. He dashed up the stairs to the bedroom, but the ranger was nowhere to be seen. He slammed the bedroom door and wondered what to do next. Joey heard a loud crash as the skunk monkey broke through the cabin's door. He heard the creature puffing up the stairs. He ran to a closet and shut the door behind him, crouching low in the clothes. But then he heard the bedroom door being smashed, and then a horrifying howl as the creature tore open the closet door, looked straight in Joey's eyes, and said, "Hey, you're it."
There you go.
The kids like that. Kids will like that, particularly around the campfire. Sometimes utilize, also if you can, utilize a flashlight to give some interesting lighting effect. So Mark, I know you like the song.
I'm not singing right now.
Not saying that, no. Songs are a good way of getting the kids inactive, particularly a participation song. When you're up, you're down, is a good one for that.
No, you're
Yes.
it's 10,000. That reports.
So that, and also if you can, get the parents involved on this, particularly in the participation song. The boys love seeing the parents doing the silly things they do. And if you can, if the dad can plan it out, have the parents participate in the dance skip too.
We always, it's mandatory that the deck do skits at the back end. Like, there's no question that you're doing this, they need to do a skit every day. And what I like to do is get parents to come up, give them a garbage bag with 4 or 5 random things in it, pizza boxes, brooms. Get 4 or 5 adults, parents, here's your bag, now go make a skit with the items in the bag. You know, baseball bats, just anything random in the garage, and I'm walking out the door. And, you know, yeah, but the boys, like, the first time you do it, okay, I want you, come on this way. And then by the second or third time you're doing it, the boys are like, Mom, Dad, go. Like you're doing it. I let the boys pick. Trying to get their parents to come up. You know, and they love to see their parents do stuff. Play games. If I've got 3 lines of boys, I got a line of adults playing the games along with them. You know, and it's anytime you can get the parents involved in that kind of stuff, it's great.
It's all good. So, no, it's all good. So before we roll, we always like to open the floor completely to see if there's any particular challenges, any particular victories, any particular problems that you might be running into. They don't have to be based on the topic we've talked about. They should be scouting related. So not for, not being able to get your teenage daughter in a room. If you figure that one out, let me know, but that's sort of off topic.
We do a lot of Master's the extracurricular activity person. So we do a lot of weekend stuff, whether it's hiking or going to the Battleship, New Jersey, and stuff like that. And my first year as Cub Master, I planned all these activities, and we have 20 boys, and 3 of them would show up. And I do the newsletters, and I get emails out, I do all this stuff, and I never had participation. My first year at resident camp, we had 6 or 8 boys, most for the partial week.
Sure.
And then my second year go around, every pack meeting, I promoted the next set of activities coming. So we promoted the Battleship. I showed a video on the Battleship, New Jersey, to get the boys excited. But it was time for summer activities, all the summer activities, the Canobles trip. Everybody's got a video that you can play on a nice screen, And resident camp, they've got a slew of videos on the Akela Land website. And we went from, 7 or 8 boys to 14 boys this year, out of 20, to resident camp. And we got them excited about stuff. All our activities, because they not only, it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to go to Sterling Hill Mining and do a hike and do some mining, but to show the video of what they're actually doing and get the boys excited. Because if you get the boys excited about something,
they'll nag mom and dad.
Mom and dad are going to have to do it. It's the way it is. Because they're going to have to do it. By promoting stuff, our attendance at all these extracurricular stuff went through the roof because they knew what they were getting into. So
how much lead time do you find you need to give to get good attendance?
So,
schedules are a challenge.
It is,
and sometimes scouting is always the redheaded stepchild of all the activities. Like, if there's anything else that comes up, scouting gets the backseat.
Oh, exactly. But
not that I'm bitter.
For example, we're going to try to go to the Franklin Institute for the overnight camping this year. I'd like to do one big event a year. And that's going to be our big event, like $60 a person, kind of expensive.
But it's the big thing.
It's the big thing. So, kind of when we need to sign up, so we may need to sign up November, December for that, is when I would start playing videos. If we're going to do this, we need to sign up now, let's show the video and get them going. In January, we're going to do something in February that we don't need that long sign up, is when I show the video for that. So kind of run sign up time. I would play the video for that, but May, so April, May, I'd be playing the summertime activity, resident camp, maybe in February, when we need to really get the boys signed up for that. And it depends on what the activity is.
Sure.
How much excited, how much in advance you got to do it. But the big dollar items are definitely we're planning, trying to coordinate that a little longer.
The Battleship, New Jersey, when I took the pack, that was something that we had planning meetings on that for months. I mean, this is a huge deal. And we had a good participation. It was great.
We had a nice turnout at ours too. I forget how many, we might have taken 12, 14 boys out of 20 to the battleship.
And that's one of those things, or one of the things to tell them is, if you're not a scout, you don't get to do this. Like, the public can go tour it, but the public doesn't sleep on it.
Although the battleship was, really, it's not a Cub Scout in my eyes. I mean, you get there, you're on the ship at 6 or 5, 6 o'clock, you're having dinner, and then at 8 o'clock, you're taking the boys on a 2-hour guided tour.
It is a late night.
It is a very late night.
Very night, yeah.
You know, that would be much better as a Boy Scout, you know. Or they need to break it up, you know, an hour at night, an hour in the morning, because in the morning, they're like, oh yeah, do what you want. I'm like, these little guys, my
The guy that tour might have been nice now.
right. Now they're awake and full of energy again. You know, 9 o'clock at night, it's like you're dragging them up the stairs and down the stairs. Yeah.
Process improvement.
I mean, I had a great time. I think the boys did too.
Well, they're looking like.
Yeah, our kids, but remember I had to hold the group.
We had a line, well, we had 2 lines set up, one ended up going. And he won the raffle to shoot the gun off. So he was there. That was awesome. He was like,
Loud.
yeah.
I remember that for the rest of the life.
Yeah.
Wait, what do they get to do? I don't remember that.
So at 11 o'clock or whatever it is, they fire 2 of the side cannon, yeah.
Yeah, because the main guns are not.
No, not the big one. I mean, it's still big. I mean, it's still big. It's
I
still
know,
big.
I crossed that.
Well, I mean, it's Camden, so shelling Camden might not be terrible.
It was so loud, it shook the entire platform. Yeah, it was-
Yeah, you need a den at least.
And when we were there, they were having the concert over the BB Valley at the same time. And I think they knew when they were gonna shoot off the guns there, because they quieted the concert down a little bit when they shut off.
Yeah, that was a great time. I'm looking forward to the Franklin Institute too this year. You know, but
We're planning to go off to Gettysburg this year. We're camping in Gettysburg this year.
Go to Gettysburg.
We're doing beach down tomorrow, but taking them to beach down tomorrow. But we're at the ship last year.
Going to the Franklin Institute, take your time. Go right around the corner to the Museum of Natural History. There's a lot of dinosaurs. It's an old style museum, but they have dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. It's literally, if the Franklin Institute is here, and you're looking towards City Hall, it's right here.
oh,
Right around, literally right around the corner.
right.
And a lot of Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts go there.
There's a lot of stuff like you get, you know, different belt loops and stuff for going there and doing that. The overnight stuff that you're not gonna get. You know.
Maybe we can catch.
The convention center's got an overnighter.
Yeah.
That's a little cheaper.
The High Valley Zoo.
Yeah.
So one of the overnights that we're planning on doing, that I'm trying to get together in the district right now, is with the Crayola experience right here in Easton. So we're trying to do an overnight there, and we're gonna open that up to a lot of people.
I do that with Girl Scouts twice a year, and it's a really fun one, but it's for younger kids. It's not
Well,
very good.
I'm working with them, so it's gonna be geared more towards Cub Scout age.
Yeah.
I'm working with them directly that it's not gonna be direct, it's more for the smaller kids. They've added a lot more stuff this year for older kids there.
Right.
So we're trying to,
This is green.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I only went 5 months ago.
mhm.
You go twice a year with the Girl Scouts, and it is much better than it used to be, but it's still, I think, by
Yeah,
years.
I'm working with them to actually have requirements for different badges for each grade level that would come to this. So I'm working with them right now actually on planning this and trying to get it together and nail down a date for probably more towards March.
It's a fun one. It's a really fun place to go with.
But like every rank needs an elective now. So
Yeah,
like,
that's what
to
we're
go
gearing it
here,
for.
if you can go somewhere and get an elective done, it's one less thing that now you're gotta worry about.
Mhm. That's what we're trying to do. It's kind of those more creative electives. We're working with them to do that.
Yeah, my big catchphrase at work is bang for the buck.
Yeah.
You know, like if I can go do this and get something out of it and make it all better,
Mhm.
you know. I I mean, resident, my son went to resident camp and day camp, back-to-back weeks this summer. And he is 63% towards his bear rank already without any meetings. Yeah, it's like,
Fair.
yeah, you gotta.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, my seal. That's cool. Though. What? Yeah, you can do that. All right. I think we've jumped the shark with that.
David Seal.
All right, cool. So, oh, hi.
Greetings.
What are we doing next month?
Next month is going to be a presentation by Tony on the STEM program. Put the word out to all the leaders that you come around and so forth. It's a program that is, pardon the pun, growing steam, shall we say, and a lot of areas in and out of scouting are promoting it, and I think it was definitely an exciting feature to integrate into your PAC program.
Science, yeah.
It's a great time. I mean, you get the boys doing some other stuff, so it's STEM and Hornaday, and then we actually have at the end
Not
of the
too
month.
many spoilers.
Yeah. But at the end of this month, it's family camp weekend up at Kaloland. There's actually, I have 8 people from my work going up to put on STEM activities, STEM related activities at that camp.
That's actually, we're going up, we've got a lot of kids coming up, we're actually having a pack meeting up there.
Tony, where do you work?
Bring them all up.
I work at Lutron Electronics in Coopersburg.
Oh,
So they do the tour post in the Boy Scouts.
nice.
So I have a few people that do that are coming. So it's kind of hard to get them to like realize that this is K through 5 versus, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. Because the games they had were awesome, but like they were explaining it and I was getting lost. And, like,
Yeah, you don't want to make it strong.
Right.
It's the STEM that we're actually really looking forward to doing at family
Yeah,
camp,
we're-
because
we're
we've done all
having-
the other stuff and we really want to have to do that.
We're having catapults, we're having a buoyancy display, we're gonna have paper rockets and a weather display, and then like just some brain teaser games where you move some straws around. And so it's gonna be a good time.
Good time. So I'm hoping we have a lighter time. I mean, it was great having you guys. It was a little light tonight. I'm thinking maybe that's because tonight is probably a recruiting night for a couple of units.
Mhm.
I know 76 is doing their recruiting tonight. And, but some good topics covered. I think we were streamed on the internet. So
Some of the schools are
I don't know
having
if we're
meet
still
and greet
live.
with their teachers tonight too.
that's it.
Because I asked a couple of poor people, so you coming to the round table? No, I gotta go to school.
So you guys might be internet famous if you look on Facebook. But I think that was pretty much, you covered what we went together. Had a good time.
Well, thank you, and